Hello, welcome to the Magentlemen podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Magentlemen podcast. If you're here for the eighth time, even though I said that last time, but I saw that the video that was uploaded today said seventh.
Well, yeah, I mean, we started at 0. So you were
Ah,
right last time.
yes, yes. Okay, so the ninth time. I forgot. I
It's like
forgot.
JavaScript.
Or like, I think every language starts with a zero index.
Oh, like even
Every
PHP for the array, yeah.
yeah, yeah. PHP, Python, Java. Those are all the languages.
And our podcast, obviously.
Yeah, we're gonna create a programming language called Magentlemen. It's gonna you can build a Magento store in like 2 seconds with just one variable.
Well, they have that. It's like it's like a store launcher thing. Some
Oh,
hosting company has it. I can't remember the name.
well, I know Cloudflare has like has a push button Magento setup.
Oh,
They set up a staging environment and all that for you, and what like it's pretty like sweet, like in terms of not having to do anything. But I'm pretty sure other companies do the same thing because they WordPress. A lot of sites do it for WordPress also.
oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, how was your week?
It was good. I mean, we're getting ready to go on code freeze soon. So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to wrap up the last couple of deployments and not break anything before the holidays. Very important.
Yeah, Black Friday is coming up. We're already in code freeze. Just trying to make sure Magento Cloud is not gonna is gonna do whatever they said they were gonna do, and make sure we're good for the duration of the holidays, and just doing some planning for when we're out of code freeze to make sure we got a good start heading into Q1 and just have an amazing year next year, hopefully.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um. So I think we can introduce the topic.
Sure, let's do it. I mean, this week we are going to talk about certification.
Yes, yes. And you are a certified developer. I am not. So you will have more to say on this topic than I do. So I'll be very much interrogating you this episode.
Yeah, I'm a front end certified front end Magento 2 developer. I got it about a year ago. Oh, no, maybe 2 years ago now. Time flies. And you're studying for what? Professional? Or
Yeah, that's honestly, ironically, yesterday, I'm actually helping my friend Michael J, that you've interacted with before. No, Michael. He's been to the Magento 2 Charlotte meetups.
nobody calls me chicken.
Yeah, he's been to a couple of the Magento 2 Charlotte meetups. I mean, I got him into software development, and at first he was playing around with Django, and he caught the Magento 2 bug, and he was talking about getting certified, and I realized that like that's not something like I had really put a lot of like thought into, at least not as of the last couple months. Like I've just kind of just been learning Magento and getting better, but not really thinking about certification. So it's ironic that someone who just got into who barely knows what he's doing is like, yeah, I'm gonna get certified, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should do it. And then he's like, yeah, you can do this and this is how much it costs. And I'm like, wait, I thought it was a lot more expensive, so maybe I should do it.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, how much is? Go ahead.
I got my current job basically entirely based on my certification. I think my interview was 20, 30 minutes and I got an offer.
Wow. So I need to get that certification so I can
Yeah.
be like Steve T,
Yeah. I mean, because obviously it comes along with like,
getting jobs in record time.
Your audio just got really loud. But
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I just want to let you know. Do I sound okay?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Is the audio better?
Yeah. I mean,
No. I'm saying, is it still really loud?
no, sounds better.
Okay.
Um, uh, but yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like they didn't do a good job of reviewing me, but as I guess if you're interviewing someone like I was getting interviewed, who's worked for the past couple of years at a Magento agency, who has a Magento certificate, you kind of have to expect like they actually know some stuff about it, and hey, let's just give them a try. Let's see what happens in the next couple of months, I guess is usually the way people think about it. I mean, I give a technical interview to go alongside, but obviously if someone has a certificate, to me, since the Magento 2 certificates are rather hard to get, that speaks kind of highly, and it puts them in the and definitely in the front of the line when I'm hiring for developers.
Wow. So if I want to get hired by Steve T, I need to be certified.
Well, not necessarily. No, I mean, so
Am I even qualified to have this podcast with you? I can go get certified before next week's podcast.
yeah, you think so? Is that a challenge?
Well, I'll try.
Yeah. So,
Forgive me if I don't.
have you done any like Swift Otter practice tests or anything yet?
No, I actually got an a practice test. Um, I don't know if it was a practice test, some document regarding the test sent to me yesterday by the same friend I just mentioned. I haven't had a chance to review it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed a lot is the people that are interested in getting certified are also interested in like sharing the documentation and but I always recommend get it for yourself from Swiftwater. It is worth it. I think they charge it's not too bad, but I I used it when I was studying for the front end course. It was really super helpful. I'm trying to remember if I took practice tests or if they even had that at the time that I was doing it, but I would highly recommend that too. Because one thing about Magento 2 certifications is they are like going out of their way to, I don't want to say trick you, but it's like, because I don't know how familiar everyone listening or you are with like multiple choice quizzes. But for me, I've always found multiple choice pretty easy. Like, I guess maybe I'm a good test taker or something, but like I can look at the options, and even if I don't necessarily know the subject material very well, if I'm sort of familiar, I'm like, well, it's obviously D or something. You know what I mean? Like these other ones don't make sense. These tests are not like that. They are the best way I can describe it is there will be maybe 1 out of 4 or 5 multiple choice, or let's say 1 out of 3 that is, you could pretty much toss it out if you know your subject material pretty well. But the other options left, either the 2 left or the 3 or 4 left, are almost the exact same answer. So it's like you have to know really, really well exactly what they're talking about and what the exact kind of answer they're looking for, because you won't be able to just say like, oh, let me process some elimination. It's not that because of this. It's not this because of that. You, I mean, it's super granular, and the options they give are, for a lot of them, almost identical. So you kind of have to know exactly what they're looking for and why specific answers are exactly right.
Okay, so you can't just have like a general idea of what's going on. You have to
Right.
actually truly understand the concept.
Yeah. And not only that, but you have to remember stuff that, for me, day to day working, I don't necessarily remember. So like just like folder structure stuff and um boilerplate that normally maybe you would just have a module auto write, or uh use it,
Like a
keep it as
registration file or something.
a snippet. Yeah, and you just copy it in when you need it, or Google it for when you need it, or whatever. You have to actually know, because they'll be like, how would you override this file? And you have to choose between four paths that are almost identical, and it's like, okay, it's probably this one, but I guess it could be /source/CSS, not
Yeah,
CSS/source.
yeah.
And then, like, so for me, I failed the first time I tried.
Oh man.
um yeah, I mean, it wasn't like that. I guess it was a little devastating just because I was pretty close. You have to get like 64%, I think, to pass. But I got like 60.
You
So
couldn't even get a 64, man.
oh dude, it's a hard test,
No,
man.
I'm just playing with you.
No, I know, but
You
it
can get a 64.
it just bounces right off of me because it's freaking
That's
hard.
less than 65, okay?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Who gets less than 65 on a test?
Well, okay, so I was thinking about this, and the first one that I took, it was shortly after my son was born. So I had a 1-year-old and a newborn.
Oh, so you're gonna blame your son now. He's
No,
gonna watch this one day.
no,
He's gonna be like,
no,
Dad blamed me.
no. I remember, because I was talking to my wife earlier. I'm like, what's going on when I failed that? And she's like, well, you barely had like a lot of time to straight up study, because that's the difference. Like, because first, I will say that you have to be working in Magento 2 and in the subject area. So front end, if you're taking the front end test, or the back end, if you're taking the back end test, you have to be doing that pretty regularly. I would say every day, ideally.
Yeah.
Um, and then on top of that, you have to study for this thing. So I don't think that someone who's not actively working hours and hours every day in Magento 2 is going to pass this, because I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't think you can purely just study for this. Even using the best study materials, you need to be a Magento 2 developer who's actively working, if not on a job, then you're making your own project. Because I
Yeah.
just I kind of feel like it's gonna be hard to just study and take.
Just memorize, right? Because you have no relationship to the material.
Yeah, it's hard enough to do Magento development. It's not like you could just read the manual and be like, yeah, I can develop. No, you kind of have to like fight with it, and then read the manual, and then be like, oh, okay, and you start building that
Cons-
mental model.
Consult like three or four tutorials, and each of them do like half of the or a quarter of the thing that you're trying to accomplish, and you try to like stick all of them together, and eventually you're like, oh, okay, that's what all of this meant, and this is why they did it that way, and it's like, oh, it's so clear now.
Yep. And then you kind of have that in your brain, um, and then you would go to take a practice test or use this study material, and then it would like hang kind of ornaments on that tree that you built of like, this is the way I understand it. And I can make Magento do this, this, and this, doing it that way, right? And then you do the study material from Swift-Otter or whatever, and it kind of decorates the tree as far as like, this is the way they are going to ask the questions, and this is the way you kind of have to repeat things back in order to get certified.
Mm. So there's no, like, you can't just like pay someone, slip someone $20 at the door, or send them some money via PayPal.
So from what I've heard, I guess that kind of thing went on with Magento 1 certificates.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, that's why they're not like everybody has these Magento 1 certificates, because I guess the way it was that you could just buy the answers online, right? And remember all the answers and then take the test and you'd be good. Whereas these certificates now, and maybe they fixed the Magento 1 tests, I don't know. They are.
Yeah, they were definitely fixed.
So, I mean, and that's the thing too. So like when I went and took my certification class or tests, you could at the time have set up your home office or your work office with cameras and all this stuff and do it from home. I went into an actual place. Now, the place I went was just a place. It wasn't just for Magento development certificates. It was like for all kinds of certificates. And I remember just thinking and being very surprised. I kind of, how do I say this? It was just kind of like imagine if the place was just built out of like really low quality material, like not like they built the desk out of cardboard, but like just a couple steps above that. Like everything was just kind of flimsy and like they weren't real desks. It was just like these big
it's a
pieces
part of the test, man. It's
plywood. Yeah, and it's like you had this like
psyche
camera behind you and the old ass computers. And that was just my experience at that first place that I went to. So you like walk in and the person would take I think a lot of people there were doing like Adobe certifications and Microsoft and maybe Linux. That was probably a lot of what was going on in that place. Yeah. Magento, probably not a lot, but I was there to do that. And you walk in and you just give the person your little voucher code, and then you take all your stuff and you put it in this locker. So you get your own locker and a key, and that way you don't have anything on you. And then you go behind the curtain, and it's just this big room with like partitioned desks. You sit at your little station, and the Magento test is there, and you start when you're ready. And it was a trip. That was the one I failed. The second time I went to a different location.
So now you're blaming the baby, the building. Okay. More excuses, okay.
I just don't think
65.
I studied enough. Yeah, and I mean the second place though was more like someone's office basically. It seemed like they were doing other kinds of work there that weren't like certification related. And then they also had a desk in the office, and it was like a 3-person office. And I sat at that other desk and did my certification. The other 2 people were just there working on stuff and making sure I didn't cheat, I guess.
Interesting.
That was the time I passed. And once I passed, they were like, oh man, wow, you do Magento, huh? We should work together. And like, let us come teach at your company and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not in charge of like who gets to come and talk at my company, but I'll pass your information along.
Now that I'm certified, I can go and flex those muscles.
Yeah, I think they wanted to do like Microsoft certification and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little bit, not in line with Magento.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They were cool. I thought they were great because I passed my test. But
they were like, hey.
I mean, honestly, I think most of the people I know that have a Magento certification failed at least once trying to get it.
Okay, so now that's a That's a challenge for me to pass on the first try. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had to guess, I would say you probably will pass, just because I know your study habits and kind of, I don't know. I guess I hold you in high regard as far as that.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. But if I had to guess, I'd say you probably will pass. Because, like, I don't know. I guess at the time, the first time I took it, I obviously it was a very expert front end developer, but I didn't really think of myself as super fluent in Magento 2 yet. It was very early. But by the second time I had taken it, I was a lot more comfortable. So it just depends a lot more on your, like I said, if you're working on it every day, your comfort level with it, and then also couple that with, hey, I really studied for this exact test.
Yeah.
The Swift Otter guide, and I took my practice tests, and I'm gonna at least nail it. If you think you can get like 90 or 100%, then yeah, you probably will get the, like, that's the thing. You come out of the test, you're like, yes, I nailed it. And then you get the score and you're just like, oh my gosh, how did I get it so wrong? You know, it's surprising. It's not like, I always felt like,
How did I get it so wrong? What
yeah,
happened in my life? What brought me to this point?
it wasn't like I felt like oh man, that really didn't go well. Both times I took it, I figured I probably got a B, because I'm usually, that's like what I mean. I just didn't feel like the test beat me up. Like I didn't know the answers. I felt like I had nailed it, but then it's like I'm getting this low grade, and it's just because the questions are really tricky. And even
So,
someone who knows and can develop on it every day can totally fail this test. But all of them.
but like you pointed out, right? Like in the course of creating a module or whatever, some things are just like you said, boilerplate, and you're just going to copy and paste it. Are you going to study every single component of a module.xml file or registration.php? There's like whole sections in the Magento docs about this one particular file, right? And that you may have known at one point, and how the whole uh, like how everything works behind the scenes. But in the course of doing your work and moving away from, I don't know, from that, or doing larger scale projects, you're not thinking about what one particular file does and
Yeah.
how it does it, right? Or you know what it does, but you don't necessarily pay attention to every line in that file, and the test
Yeah.
is testing you on that.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess I didn't see a lot of questions in there that I like disagree with them asking. Maybe one or two, like where I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I made a mental note of like, man, this question, why? What are they even getting at? But most of them, when I took it, made sense. And like,
Yeah.
I get why they're asking this. And yeah, maybe it's a little granular as far as like,
Mm-hmm.
the exact path or the exact coding or something. But
At
I
the end of the
mean,
day, it makes you better, right? Like you.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if it makes you better, but it definitely checks and makes sure that you are good enough to be called certified. But yeah, I would say, I'm trying to think, did I learn a lot getting certified when I was studying? I mean, for me, I guess, um, I was more on the end of like, look, I've been developing in Magento 2 now for, I guess it was 4 or 6 months, maybe longer. Um, and I just needed to focus on the memorization side of like, look, I have the study material from Swift Otter, or I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think we got Swift Otter.
Is Swift Otter paying you, man?
No, they're just the
Because
only ones that
you've said that name like 20 times already.
they're the only
I'm
ones
gonna
that do it. I
no,
mean,
I'm just poking fun at you. But
yeah, no, I mean it bounces off though because there's no one else doing study guides. I don't think. Is there?
okay, so I'm gonna make my own study guide.
Good luck.
I'm just kidding. But no, but so the first time you took it, you were 4 to 6 months in, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the second time you took it, how much experience?
Probably more like 9. I think I waited like 3 months, or could
Okay.
have been a year.
And how much is the front end certification?
It's like the same. I think, aren't they all similarly priced?
Like $200?
Yeah,
Okay.
to look it up. Magento 2 certification. Was it voucher?
Yeah.
Where can I take the certification advance? So, I mean, the first stuff I studied was actually from Magento, because when they first released Magento 2, they made a bunch of their materials available for free. And then, yeah, I got into Joseph Maxwell's stuff, and I had begun to study for the JavaScript developer, because I guess eventually I'd like to be on that short list of full stack people. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I took the JavaScript one, I would kind of be like in the stage where I was the first time I took it, where it's like I feel like I have enough knowledge, I just haven't buckled down and done the test prep, memorization, and stuff like that. So I could maybe pass it, but then again, I could probably pretty easily fail. So I don't know.
Question though, how long did you study, and how long would you recommend people study? Like how many hours a day for how many weeks or months?
Yeah, I was at least an hour a day for a good month.
A good month. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not saying, hey, 4 hours a day for 6 months, like like.
Just depends, like where you start off. Like if you really do develop every day in Magento 2 and you're pretty comfortable and feeling good about getting all your tasks done that come down for your level or whatever, and then you study like and again, like I think it was a lot longer in between. So yeah, I mean, you could I don't know. It's tough. So I guess just make sure you're not just studying for the test. You want to also be challenging yourself and doing little projects. If you don't get them at work, you got to do them yourself, as far as like, okay, I'm going to do this front end thing inside of Magento 2, or that front end thing, or whatever. Because you'll learn so much kind of more that way than the memorization and the test prep is going to give you. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, Magento recommends at least a year and a half experience for any of their certifications.
well, I mean, that makes sense, but at the time, the software was newer than that. Like you couldn't have a year of experience on Magento 2. Like,
unless you were like from the future.
yeah, exactly.
Traveled back in time.
Yeah. And I think that's probably too, like, more, I would think they're saying like you should have a year or more of experience with like web development in general in your field. I don't know. Maybe they
Well,
want you.
they no, it specifically says Magento, and I mean for the back end certification, it says Magento specifically, but at least some PHP and JavaScript experience, if not Magento experience.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point though. Do you think it might be smart at some point to look into getting other certificates? Like, does Magento use Symfony components, right?
Yeah.
So you can maybe think about getting a Symfony, or I don't know, does it use Zend anymore?
Yes.
Or Zen? And then there's like AWS. You could get like a cloud cert, or if you're running on the LAMP stack, you get a Linux cert. There's a lot of technologies around Magento,
Yeah, for sure.
that have like really solid, like I know Linux and their certification is really high. Um,
Yeah, because
and
yeah, because I mean, you technically could just be a Linux expert and not even touch Magento and be highly paid just off of that skill alone, right? Being
yeah,
in Yeah, and then a big portion of um of being a Magento backend developer, assuming like you don't work on a big team where there's like DevOps experts, right? Now you have to maintain the infrastructure, right? You're gonna have to maintain some server running some flavor of Linux. Um, so so yeah, definitely beneficial. I know on my part, like I had to just dive into Docker specifically because that became such a hurdle. Um,
is there a
and
certification for that?
for Docker, not sure. I just kind of just been like learning, and ignoring certifications. And
No,
then
there.
now
It looks like there is.
that now I'm just like, now that it's been brought to the forefront of my head again, I'm just like, man, I could really like um at least bring up my value on paper by just knocking out a certification. And you're saying a month? I can study intensely for a month and try to knock it out.
Yeah, yeah.
um
I mean, dude, if you get to the point where you get your professional one, and
mhm.
then you get professional plus, like you are highly sought after.
Yeah, I'm
You
like
know, you can. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it'll like do much for me at my current job. They'll just be like, well, you're still the same Steve. But like from the outside, it's like, you know, it
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so like a lot of time at agencies, they need to boast that they have a lot of certified developers. So
Mhm.
they have incentive programs to get the developers certified. Um, the only problem with that, from what I've seen, is then you have these certified developers who are highly sought after, and they start getting poached away.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a big problem if you're a great company and you pay really well and great benefits and all this, but
Yeah.
you're just kind of a normal company and whatever, it can be hard. You start having this turnover thing, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they deal with it however they deal with it.
Yeah, I always thought to myself, how come merchants aren't investing more into developer education, right? Like I would think, hey, if you if you invest X amount of dollars into a developer, it's gonna pay like tenfold, right? Because they can deliver things faster, code is less buggy, et cetera, et cetera. But there is this issue of, okay, we get this developer certified, and then what? Right? He's not contractually obligated to stay with us. And then now, and yeah, now that they're better, they can probably go somewhere else and make more money. So that's what kind of stopped me from asking my current employer to kind of invest in that, because I'm like, it's like if I get them to pay for, like, let's say in-person M2 training or something like that, which is something that I'm less, when I first started, was very like high on my list. It's, I mean, I would like, if I could afford to invest in that, I would probably still do it, even though I know a lot more than I knew back then. But anyway, I'm just like, if I were to ask a company to make that type of investment, now I feel like, okay, we're kind of like married, right? I'm a pretty loyal person. So it's like,
Yeah.
unless I feel like I'm getting screwed over, I'm pretty much gonna just stay where I'm at and do my job. So, but like if I'm gonna ask them to spend any money on me now, I feel like, hey, not that I'm going anywhere, but at that point, I definitely feel like I can't go anywhere. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I mean, I definitely, you know, I sympathize with it. I don't, you know, I don't think you should have to feel like you're stuck somewhere because they helped you get a certification. Um, I always try to give a good year or two to any company when I sign on. If it's not horrible and they're not being bad to me, I like to stay for at least a couple of years. I think it looks okay, good on my resume. I don't know though. I think hopping is okay too for a while,
Hmm.
um, because yeah, I mean, you can just like you said, like you've increased your value. If I increase my value a lot over, let's say, a year, now the company I'm currently at, they can't necessarily reflect that in the salary. They might be able to, say, oh man, like Steve's really worth 15 or 20% more than we pay him. Probably not though. They're probably going to be more like, let's give him the 3 or 5% raise or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you might just say, well, I appreciate that, but look, I'm really worth a lot more now. I put a lot of work into myself, and I have the certification, and so you just kind of want to play hardball, give the current company you're at the ability to keep
The
you.
opportunity. Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, it's life, it's business. Not everybody is going to go out
Oh,
and
you sound like the mafia.
yeah, it's just nothing personal, I just
It's just business.
yeah. I mean,
You look like you're rolling up your sleeves to like break someone's like knee or something.
yeah,
Like, where's my money?
I'm a very loyal guy
Oh,
too,
leave.
and I like to stay somewhere and be loyal. I'm very maybe to a fault. I'm too loyal, too company oriented, and
Yeah.
I mean,
It wouldn't, I wouldn't say I'm company oriented. It's more of like loyalty in general. I feel like if someone has done good by me to some level, I need to um, keep it equal, right? I don't ever want to feel like I've taken more out of a situation than I've contributed, you know. Um, so then it's like, I guess it's like how quickly, like if you get certified today and then you leave next week, I think that's that's like that's a little crazy. Maybe you stick around another 6 months and you knock out a few projects, maybe hit a few, you know, I don't know, do knock out a couple things that you felt like the company really wanted, like some high value projects, and then just say at that point, hey, I can get 20, 30K more elsewhere. Can you guys work with me? No hard feelings, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would just make sure, like, too, like, if you're feeling that way or you don't want to ask, I would ask. It doesn't hurt to ever ask. If
Yeah.
they say no, fine, but they might say yeah. You know.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. You'll never know how much your company is willing to pay you if you never ask, right? And a company's, like any company, whether they like you or not, whether they're a good company or not, right? They're there to make a profit, right? And in so many ways that you like that them being their goal of being more profitable is in direct conflict of you getting a raise, right? I mean, keeping you keeping you right has some long-term benefits, and they can definitely see that. Most companies, a smart company will see that, hey, if the X employee is valuable enough and they're saving us X amount of money, or they contributed to X project that's you know, that increased our revenue by Y amount, right? But then there's also that immediate cost of like, okay, we're gonna pay this, like we're gonna, if we give this guy some more money, where our expenses immediately go up 30K next year, right? Or right. So
Yeah, but I
some
mean that
companies
that
look at
amount
that.
that
Yeah.
you could that might be offset by how much it's going to cost to replace this person.
Yeah, that's what I was
Recruiting
saying.
fees, and I mean, at a certain point, it's like you might as well just give them the raise.
Yeah.
I
I can
mean,
see you're a tough negotiator. You're just like, well, I know how much recruiters cost. I know how inconvenient it's going to be to get someone else,
and
right?
production's got to stop for a
We're
while.
probably going to have to pay them more than you pay me now. So,
I mean, it all comes down to if you really want to keep the person or not, because
yeah.
you know, I always just tell people, look, if you really think you're worth that much more or whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't say this obviously to people who work for me, but people that like ask for my advice about that, and I say, you ask for, let's say, 5 or 7%, and you're not getting it. Go get a different offer and go slap it down on the table and show them, look, I got this offer and I would love to stay and work at this company, but I have this other offer. And look how much more they're offering me. And then you'll really find out, does the company you work at have the money or not to keep you?
Yeah. Or if they're willing to spend the money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't do it as a bluff though. Like you have to be willing to actually.
Well, you know I don't bluff,
No,
right?
yeah,
You know I don't bluff. I mean, you were there when a particular situation happened, and I just felt like, you know, at that point, like if I go and get another offer, like at that point, like I'm already like divorced from you. Like unless that company is a company like I'm not interested in working at that point, it's just like, man, you made me go and do an interview, and like I had to be like sneaky and work around like meetings and stuff to talk to recruiters. No, I'm leaving.
yeah. See, but I think all of that, everything you just said, is just because you're new in the game. You know? Yeah, I
You
mean,
think so?
yeah, because like, okay, first of all, don't ever let it get to that point where you're just. I mean, well, obviously maybe it can just get there all like immediately, and you're like, screw this place, I'm going somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I usually, once I start getting disrespected or whatever, it's happened to me a couple of times, I'll start interviewing. And it's like, I'm not going to have hard feelings or whatever. And I'm just going to go get me that other offer. Um, make sure it's a juicy one. And if I'm willing to stay, then I'll slap it down. Otherwise, I just tell them, look, here's my 2 weeks, Um, I wouldn't. I guess the part of it that made me feel like this is your first couple of jobs is all your kind of uh, like you're not cold-hearted business about it,
Oh, well, the thing is, sometimes employers will make it personal,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah,
Right? They feel they're like, oh, you know, you're just stabbing me in the back and like twisting it. You're trying to maintain that level of like, okay, this is business.
yeah.
Because like if you guys decided to lay me off or whatever, you would play it off like it was just business, right? But then when it's the employee that has the power, they want to be like, oh, why would you do this to us? And
Well, see,
we
and
did XYZ. And
if that's the kind of response you get, you're taking that other offer. Because that is
yeah,
just
yeah.
so weird. Like, what? Like, I owe you? I'm stabbing your back? Like, come on, let's read my contract. Does it say I owe you anything?
Exactly. Like, did I not come to work every day and work? Right?
It's
Like,
weird,
I
man.
don't know. Am I like, did I like not work? Did I work 6 hours instead of the 8 hours that I promised? Because the last time I checked, I worked 10 hours, even though I was only supposed to work 8. So maybe you owe me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking for more money. But anyway, it's more of again, and like you said, it's loyalty to a fault, right? Because sometimes I don't think about the company as a whole. Um, like because people think about, oh, okay, this company like as the entity, but then the company consists of people that you worked with, your boss and stuff like that. So then there's a psychological aspect of it, like maybe your boss was really cool or whatever, like
Or a weirdo. Like maybe
yeah,
it's just your boss that's a weirdo, right? Like
yeah.
that
Yeah,
situation really sucks because I've had really cool bosses before at kind of weird companies, and I've had the other way where the boss is kind of weird and the company's really great. So you kind of get caught in these different situations where it's like, man, like because I agree with you. Like I don't ever want to put the company in a bad position where it's like I'm turning the screws on you when you can't really do anything. You know, I want to always work with the company and kind of be cool. Like I would hope they would be cool with me. You know.
well, yeah, for me, I felt like, when I was departing in that particular situation, I had worked through a very big project that was stuck for a while, worked a lot of weekends, worked a lot of late nights to make it happen. Went, like, started growing, seeing my first gray hairs. I'm just joking. I had gray hairs before that since college. But the point is, I worked really hard, and I feel like I got a major project through the door, and then it was just like, look, this thing's done, and you guys are good now, so hey, it's time to pay up, right? I didn't abandon you guys in the middle of this thing, because I could have done that. I could have just been like, yeah, that project that's like 70% done, I'm gonna leave if you guys don't pay me. I could have done that, but I didn't. And
Yeah.
I just, I didn't feel like, that was taken into consideration. And just, at that time I had to, you know, pull up the sleeves and put my and just, talk, just, yeah, just be cold, and hey, this is business. I have to go to somewhere where I get paid more.
Yeah, and I mean, like I can't. I don't. I mean, I guess I'm not 100% sure if I were in your shoes what I would have done in that situation. I mean, I have a strong inclination of what I would have done. But yeah, I mean, you just got to take every situation kind of for what it is
Yeah.
and, just try to do unto others that you would have done to you.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of think of it that way. Like if I'm the employer, yeah, if I pay for someone's certification, they leave the next week, I'll be a little miffed about that,
Yeah.
But then again, as the employer, I have to think to myself, what's going on here that, you know, they're using me for a $200 certification
Oh no,
voucher.
but I
Like,
wasn't talking about the $200. I'm talking about the in-person training, which is significantly more
oh yeah, it's
expensive.
like 2 grand or something.
Like three
Like
to
three.
four. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's what like
200. You should be, if you're a Magento developer, you should be able to spend $200 to get certified. If not, you definitely need to leave your company.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean I still I guess that's like a nice bonus,
Yeah,
is 2-3 grand. That's heck, I would love to get a 2 grand bonus.
yeah,
And but yeah, I mean you just kind of have to also as the employer reflect back on that what I trained them and then I guess they're now they are making or they are feeling at least qualified enough to take this other offer that's for so much more money and I can't pay that much more. So what did I do wrong as far as like um just making people comfortable and making them want to stay around? Is there some team building or something I have to do from the employer side? And maybe you're not. Like, you could be stuck between a rock and a hard place sometimes. And
Yeah,
so,
maybe you just don't have the budget,
yeah.
and the only thing you could offer was the training and the certification, right? And you felt that they would honor that.
And I mean, honestly, I think most people, from my experience, are, you know, it's easier to stay at the job you're at. So if you get trained, and
I don't know
you're,
what the numbers these recruiters are offering.
yeah, that's true. But it's a
But go
hassle. I
ahead.
mean, look at finding a new job and going, and that's a hassle. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're comfortable where you are and you're not getting, uh, all these kind of signals and getting pushed towards finding a new job, then, you probably are more likely to stay where you are for a while. Unless you're just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that is true, right? I mean, now that remote work is more um uh available, or like more of a norm, that's one less hurdle. But generally speaking, you'd have to think about, okay, if I'm going to accept this new job, now I have to move. Maybe I'm stuck in a lease, right?
Maybe the job won't work out. I'll get there a couple weeks later. It's
Yeah,
even worse than my existing job, or they don't like my work, or it just doesn't, like, I could be giving up a job for not getting a job, basically.
exactly. Or my manager at my current job is really flexible, and I don't know, people have, every employee is different. Sometimes they have personal issues or health issues. You know, maybe the money's great, but the health insurance sucks. So right then,
Yeah.
so then you're gonna go and
Or
make.
the front end tech lead is really funny, an awesome person, and you just don't want to leave.
Yeah, right. There could be a lot of factors other than money, right? Or maybe your company's willing to match you, right?
No?
Yeah. Um, so, but anyway, I think there are a lot of reasons why you may want to stay at your current job, unless, like, the thing is, if you're already bored and the people there suck and you hate your manager, definitely leave. But then there's always this uncertainty, right? How do I know this other company is as stable as my existing company, right? I know what type of revenue is being generated at my current company. I just need to log into the Magento dashboard and I can see the big numbers looking at me, right?
Yeah, if they're big. Yeah.
Hopefully. And then but maybe I go to this other company and they're hoping that I'm just going to come and change everything around, and I'm going to do stuff to the website that makes their revenue go up. And then 6 months down the road, that's not happening, and I'm on the chopping block or whatever, right? Because they don't have like a realistic business plan or strategy to grow the business. Or, I mean, when I was moving, since it was during COVID, that was one of the questions I asked. I was like, how stable is the company? How has COVID impacted, business and stuff like that? And I was reassured that.
Wouldn't it be funny if they're just like, oh, we're not doing too good?
And then I'd be like, sorry.
What are they supposed to say? Actually, things are not going well.
Yeah, we need you to come. We need you to be, not only a full stack developer, we need you to do sales and customer service also.
They do that thing where they like just check around real quick. It's not going well.
Between you and me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't come here. I just don't have anywhere else to go. but yeah,
All right.
like,
Let's
yeah,
wrap this thing up.
Yeah, we came
Sorry.
from certifications to.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us for the ninth time.
Yes. Including the zeroth.
Like, subscribe,
Yes.
share. We love you.
Namaste.
Bye bye.
Peace.